since the story broke by TMZ a week ago, Jameis Winston's attorney had said a lot, but the victim's family hadn't said anything, and they decided to break their silence today because there were a lot of rumors and some misinformation out there that, in their mind, that changed public perception a little bit, and they thought that it was important for them to get their side out that they're alleging something rather serious, that someone at Tallahassee Police Department told them that this is a football town, and you can read between the lines that perhaps they should reconsider what they were doing. The other thing that's really interesting in this is they're alleging that someone at the Tallahassee Police Department, a detective up there, intentionally did not get Winston's DNA evidence,
quarterback from Florida
which
State,
could either prove his guilt or innocence, certainly one would think, and also didn't talk to a key witness up there that presumably he would have had the opportunity to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear the story now, but they said it's big.
Big, potentially damaging allegations that, if true, would go far beyond Jameis Winston and his Heisman race.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting. In the world I live in, that's what we talk about. Is he going to win the Heisman or not? Will FSU win the national championship? And I wasn't sure. I mean, you know a lot more than I do because you've been working on this for quite a while. But the TMZ report was easy to dismiss because it was TMZ. But you know better than I know you've been working on this story. Let's talk about what you think are the most salient points, because somewhere in that police report the word rape is used. Can you explain that to us?
Before I bought it, I said, "How fresh is it?" And they're like, "It's fresh."
The families, through a statement through their attorney, they're alleging that their client, that the young lady, was raped, and they're alleging that the perpetrator was Jameis Winston. Now, let's pause here.
That's what I was saying.
Say that again.
Like,
hey,
I asked him before
I want a fresh cookie.
He has not been charged.
There's your car.
Police and the state attorney's office and all those people up in Tallahassee are investigating to see whether a crime was committed, and if so, by whom was the crime committed. But yeah, the family certainly didn't mince words today, and it's after this, I think it's a lot harder to dismiss things as just a report by TMZ. There's certainly smoke to this fire, and whether there is a fire, the cops and the courts are going to sort that out in the coming days. And I spoke with the state attorney, Willie Meggs, up in Tallahassee today about an hour or two ago, and he said this could be resolved. It's not unrealistic to think that this could be resolved here in the next week, which would be leading up to the Florida game.
I'm curious, Matt. I don't do police report work. I've done it many years ago. Assuming how confusing this is, explain why you think he believes it could be adjudicated that quickly.
Because there's a lot of information. It's not like this wasn't investigated, because it clearly was. There was a police report that was made. The incident supposedly took place between 1:30 and 2. Within an hour, the accuser had called FSU police and reported something. Within 2 hours, Tallahassee police, because this incident happened off campus, within a couple hours, Tallahassee police was on the scene and they were doing their work. So there were some initial things that were immediately done. There was some blood work that was done. According to the police report, there was some DNA evidence that would have been taken, photographic evidence. It's not like they're starting from scratch. They're starting with the information that was acquired and gained from back then, and now they're trying to see, was this done correctly? Do we need to test, if there's a blood sample, do we need to test X, Y, and Z instead, or in addition to? And they're trying to interview more people, interview the victim is out there that the alleged victim met with the state attorney's office the other day, presumably to share her side of the story. So there's more stuff that's gathering, and presumably in the coming days it will be enough to tip one way or the other. Yes, there is something here. There was a crime committed. Can we charge someone? Or no, we don't have enough information to charge someone, or there wasn't a crime committed.
Yeah, I mean, but for those who don't follow police work, I'm not siding with anyone, but what we see here, or what we are seeing here, Matt, I think happens in cases like this. These are often difficult. They're often misunderstandings between a male and a female. I don't know the clear definition of rape. I think sometimes rape is a broader brush than what is the obvious. But I do want to ask you, because you are at the vanguard of this story, and you pose some questions in your piece. What do you think, knowing all that we know right now, which isn't everything, but it's more than we did? What are the most important questions that have been left unanswered?
My biggest question is, if everything the family has said is correct, and again, we have to take everything in that view. But if everything the family says is correct, and Jameis Winston was ID'd as at least a suspect in January, then why wouldn't they have either interviewed him? My understanding is you have the right to remain silent. He doesn't have to say anything. But certainly, I would think there's probable cause if a woman says that this man committed a crime against me, if there is physical evidence in the form of DNA or photographic evidence of a possible rape, and I would think that's probable cause to at least get his DNA, and then either it is or it isn't, and you can go from there. So to me, that's my biggest question: is why was that not done? And we don't have an answer with that. A lot of stuff has come out that leads questions into how some of this information became public, who was sharing it with whom and when, and some of that stuff is kind of is juicy in certain circles. I think those are questions that are reserved for another time. But my biggest question that I have right now is, why was the DNA evidence not collected immediately, and what would the purpose of that serve?
So I don't want to turn this into a civics lesson, but sometimes you need to.
Me neither.
Matt, in terms of the controlling authority right now, is it or is it not in the state attorney's office?
The state attorney's office is overseeing the investigation. Now, what that means in terms that you and I can understand, they might request the Tallahassee police or someone else, okay, we need X, Y, and Z, and then Tallahassee police can go get X, Y, and Z. But the state attorney's office is the one that's kind of behind all of this, and they're looking at the facts, and then at the end of the day, the state attorney's office will powwow with all of the big wigs up there to figure out, is there enough information to let us know if a crime was committed? If so, do we have enough information to make an arrest or charge on who might have committed this crime?
Now, let me make sure I understand, because sometimes in a state capital things are confusing. The state attorney, if I understand correctly, that is in essence, the district attorney of Leon County. Is that correct, or is it the state attorney of the state of Florida? It's Leon County, is it not?
It's the state attorney of the Second Judicial Circuit,
okay,
which is Leon County and Wakulla County and a couple others up there. So
in the parlance of legal matters, it's like it is like a district attorney, which means he's over that area. Now, he is. I mean, is it your? I mean, you've already reported this. I think he will make the determination. But it seems to me, Matt, that even beyond that, there's going to be another investigation here. Forgetting Jameis Winston, but an investigation, would you say, of the way this was handled?
Again, I spoke with Willie Meggs, the state attorney, this afternoon, and the story that we recently updated online has him questioning it. It's fair. His hope is that at the end of the day, when all the stuff is settled, first and foremost, we have to figure out, the state has to figure out, was a crime committed, and if so, who committed it? Then after that, when all of that is done, then there are going to be questions on who released what to whom, how is this investigation handled by the police, by the state attorneys, by the sheriffs, by whoever it might be, and was this done according to protocol? And if not, why not? So I think it's certainly fair that there will be questions. I don't know what they will find, but I certainly think that they will be asking a lot of questions about what was done and whether this was done the correct way.
Well, it's hard to believe that this is not going to follow Jameis Winston around, at least in the short term, regardless of, I mean, and I don't mean regardless, because if no charges are filed, then that would be the end of that, but it may not be the end of the story. Yeah,
it's with allegations like this, whether they're proven true or not, it's unfortunate that they do stick with the possible suspect. my weather, I've lost a lot of sleep over this in the last 2 weeks. And one thing that, frankly, I wish hadn't happened is I wish TMZ hadn't put the name out there first with what evidence was available. It's not in the normal standard police protocol and cops and courts reporting. You don't name a suspect until you have a very good reason to do so. So I wish maybe we or someone else would have had the possibility to weigh what was available, what was public record, what was not public record, and then make that call as to whether there was enough to say that or not. Because that is, let me be clear, that is a very damaging allegation to make against anyone, regardless of the situation.
Let me ask you this. If TMZ had not reported it, what would you have done?
That's a good question. I had, it's public record through the emails and the paper trail that I had asked for for a copy of the police report. And I don't know, because I don't know what would have been in there. I don't know whether the case would have still been open and inactive, meaning there's more information that they can give, versus open and active, which means we can only give you the bare bones because we're still working on this case and we don't want anything to jeopardize that, which is completely understandable. So I don't have an answer for you. Again, this is something that I thought quite a bit about when I'm walking my dog or whatever. What would I have done? And I don't know. Depends on what information was up there and was out there, and that we could confirm, knowing that the Times does not use anonymous sources. We only use anonymity to protect the identity of a victim of a violent crime such as a sexual assault.
Well done. I have a feeling this will not be our final conversation. Matt, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Great work.
No problem. Call anytime.
Okay. We'll talk more about this. Joe Test coming up next. We'll see if what effect this is having on the Heisman, which seems trite, but that's what we talk about on shows like this. Back with more.
My business was losing money because